What is going on, YouTube? Tom here, and another lunchtime vlog. Today I wanted to talk about kind of the updated wish list, so to speak, for mods. Because now, a while ago, actually, before I even got this car, I made a couple videos about what sorts of mods I'm looking at. You know, kind of thing, what things do I want to get? What, you know, some of the parts they didn't even come out with for 2018 at the time I made that video. So it's got a lot of things that have updated over time. And of course, owning the car, I've discovered more things that some are problems, some aren't necessarily things I thought about changing. And of course, you know, things like that. There's what do I want to do to build the car? So I've kind of got my mind set on sort of a three-stage attack sort of plan. Like, how do I want to build the car? So stage one is kind of where I'm at now. The no-tune, just how can we make the car faster on the stock horsepower level? You know, things like I did the X-pipe, which doesn't necessarily make it faster. Maybe a couple of like freeing up horsepower. Big ones I'm looking at is like a shifter, things like that, where it won't necessarily make the car faster all around, but it'll help it make it faster, you know, in certain conditions. How to help it feel faster. Alright, I am now pulling up to Wawa. I will probably be getting gas today. Kind of not really low, but it's getting lower. Hopefully I don't get begged for change. This Wawa is like becoming a homeless hotspot. So, yeah, back on in and we'll pick up this vlog in just a minute when I get back. Another $32 later. Good to go. Alright, now to carefully try to get out of this Wawa. Now, I believe I was talking about kind of the stages I want to go to with this car. Now, stage one, kind of the first build I want to do is, let's see what we can do on the stock power, and also maybe even some things that might free up horsepower, which really is only the X-pipe, because everything else is going to require a tune, but... So definitely I'm looking at a shifter, because I know that's been something that has been talked about on my channel before. That's a mod I definitely want to do. Now, of course, I personally really like the stock length shifter. I don't really want to do some ridiculous short throw, because I did get to try out an MGW, not to drive the car, but just to sit in the car and mess with it. It's pretty short. Also, the distance between the gears with the 2-3 shift, that's a pretty short distance. And of course, it's already in the stock shifter pretty short. So I don't know if I really want to go even shorter, but I do want to go to a transmission mount shifter, just because as much as I like the stock shifter, it's just way too sloppy. I'm going to put in a video clip in this about how just sloppy it really is. Yeah, there's quite a lot of play. When you shift hard, it's so much more likely to miss a gear. It's been known to lock me out. Now I've decided, you know, start experimenting. I've been doing, you know, 7,000 RPM shifts with it. And of course, if you shift just a hair over 7,400, you're missing that shift. You have to really kind of just be careful at where you shift it. And on top of that, I still have the third gear grind issue. So, because I'm not looking to go to a shifter, the solution is I'm more likely looking at is the Blowfish Racing bracket, which replaces that flimsy little remote mount bracket piece, and of course replaces it with a transmission mount bracket. You keep your stock shifter, so stock length and everything. It won't be a short throw, but it will be transmission mounted, which is a lot more solid. And on top of that, it's not as expensive as a big shifter. Now the problem is it's still around $300, so it's still not the cheapest solution in the world, but it's still cheaper than going to this full like MGW or Barton shifter. And of course I've already got a shift knob on the way. I kind of alluded do that in a couple videos. So realistically, I don't want to go to like a fancy shifter just for a shift knob not to work. So on top of that, I'm committed to this shifter. It might not be the best when you do high RPM shifts, but you know, realistically, I'm not doing high RPM shifts all the time. Now, I do eventually plan to take this car to the drag strip, just to see what it can do. So one mod that everyone recommends for the S550, and I've already had people say, you know, this is something you should consider, specifically like on my car, it is something I'm looking at, and that is the Steeda Stop the Hop kit. On the street, it's not that bad, just because I don't typically launch the car as hard as I can go, but of course, if I really did want to launch it harder, I can already tell there would be some downsides. Of course, on the S550, when they went to the IRS setup, it's not sloppier at all. It's not like it's a worse setup or anything, but it's definitely set up for handling over drag racing. So Steeda Stop the Hop kit, of course, that will help it hook a lot better, help stop all that wheel hop, help the car put all of its power down to the ground, especially if I'm going to commit to drag racing and try to get as best of a time as I can. That's something that'll help, because that helps get your 60-foot times down, helps improve your launch, and that's what you want. That, of course, that's basically going to help make the car faster without even adding horsepower, and that's important. So, kind of beyond that, one thing I definitely want to do is I want to lower this car, and I'll put another kind of clip of the car at the stock ride height, let you all get sort of an experience with it. It's not really high off the ground. It's not like this car sits high like a truck or anything, but every time I go to a show, I see a lowered Mustang. And it's just like, man, my car just sits a lot higher. Not in a bad way, but it's just that little bit, it would be nice. But yeah, it's not intolerably bouncy, but it does bounce a good bit. And the problem with that is, you just get onto the right road and you're bouncing all over. So I am looking at potentially just going to a set of coilovers as opposed to just lowering springs. So that's up for debate. That's something I'm considering. It's not necessarily something I've got to do right away, but it'd be nice both for the appearance and for the fact that it would be nice to see this car ride a little smoother. But that kind of is on the token of the no horsepower added, just trying to make the car faster with no power mods. Of course, then I would like to see this car going to full bolt-ons. Now, intake, I haven't really decided, because PMAS is supposedly working on one that's not really in the market yet, but they are taking pre-orders. PMAS is usually known for some really good quality stuff. And of course, the other one is, and everyone has already done it because it's been out for a while, and that's the JLT intake. Of course, my thing is, I'm going to do a tune required intake, whatever I do. Simply because these no tune required intakes, I learned my lesson on the Tacoma when I did the K&N. You just don't get a lot. You might get a couple of horsepower. In fact, some of them you lose horsepower. They're even more restrictive on the flow. So, as much as I would like to save money and just do the simple intake, all you're really going to get is noise. I'd rather do one where I know I'm going to get power. So that's going to be probably the first big power adder, because intakes are one of those things that you can do easily in your own driveway. You never have a hard time doing them, and they add power. And of course, the next big one from there is not quite as big of a deal as I think some people make it out to be, and that of course is a tune, which of course would have to happen at the same time as a tune required intake. So I already run the car now on 93 octane, so I for sure am looking at going to a 93 tune on this car. But of course it would have to happen for this intake to get the full power potential anyway, not something I'm complaining about. As for what tune I want to do, I haven't really made my mind up yet, but I'm strongly leaning towards Lund, just because they've already proven that they can do well. I'm not necessarily trying to be the first to do something. I don't necessarily care about being the guy that does everything differently. If it's proven to work, I'm gonna do it. I like the idea of going to Lund, because they're basically the premier tuner right now. So something to keep in mind with this car. So that'll probably happen, hoping in the next few months at least, before summer if possible. Big problem is I just don't know about money coming in, so that's up there. And then of course one of the other big ones I want to do is headers. I've already heard some cars with long tube headers, and it's like, man, they sound really good even on the stock exhaust. Like the stock mufflers on this car, just so amazingly loud. And on top of that, just being an active exhaust car, I can quiet it down when I need to. I'm not stuck being constantly loud. Originally I wanted to do Cooks, but as I have discovered and talking it over with some people, Cooks are expensive. They are the premier brand, but you pay the premier price. I'm actually looking towards Texas Speed, because they used to be more of a GM company. I didn't realize they made parts for Fords until very recently. So now that I've discovered they make Ford parts, it's something I'm definitely looking at, because they're about half the price as Cooks, and they're still stainless steel, they're still quality, it's a name brand that people trust. So that's something I definitely want to get, because if I am going to go with the header route, that's going to help a lot, having some proven headers. And of course a lot of other YouTubers are actually going to those. So my philosophy is, if it's proven to work, I'm going to do it. But anyway, let me know in the comment section below what you all think about all of that. What mods do you want to see? What mods do you really think I should be getting? Because I'm always open to recommendations if it's a worthwhile mod. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a thumbs up. You are stopping in for the first time, go ahead and subscribe. Hopefully these mods will come. I mean, that's the big one. If you do subscribe, you can see them. So, and I do plan to do more with this car, I think pretty soon. I'm hoping in the next couple of months I'm looking at going to a dyno. I've got a dyno in mind. One of these days I'm going to call them and just see, what's it going to take to get my car in that dyno. So that's hopefully going to come soon. Obviously, like I mentioned, the drag strip, hopefully that'll come as well. So I am kind of transitioning from working full-time. I'm going back to school full-time, so that'll actually open up some time for filming. Anyway, take care. Have a good day.